Hi friends, and welcome into my studio. My name is Tammy Ernest for those of you who are new, and I am a long arm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share customer finishes as well as my own personal projects. So today I have updates on my Cottage Temperature Quilt as well as my Summerville Quilt Along that I've been doing along with my Quilt Circle membership. And then I'm going to go through some of my old quilts. These are ones that I actually long-armed when I had a hand-guided machine, and you're going to see my progression through my skill level there, I guess. And then I have a whole stack of customer quilts underneath that, so we have a full day today. So let's start with my Cottage Temperature Quilt, some updates on that. We are through 3 months at this point, and I have shown my first two houses earlier, and so you can go back to prior videos and see those two houses. So I am on to March. If you're unfamiliar with a temperature quilt, you're basically tracking the temperature in your area through fabric instead of temperatures. So here are the colorways that I have chosen. I'm using Essex linen. First time to ever use linen for a project, and I am enjoying it. It does need to be sized because it does shrink pretty much, and so I am using Best Press. I am pressing everything prior to doing any of my cutting, and it's working really well. So let me show you. I don't have my March block completely done, but it's pretty close. I have everything laid out, I want to say. So here you do it in rows of 6, so 6 days, 5 rows, that gives you 30 days, and then any month that has 31, you create a little tree to go next to it. So I have my first two, not quite 2 weeks done because it's done in 6, but you can see the temperature variations. We had all just about a different color all the time. So the blues and the greens are cooler colors. As you get into the yellows and the oranges, those are warmer colors. So you can see it, got a little warmer, pretty warm. That temperature was in this between 76 and 80 that day, and then it dropped back down to this one, which was a temperature in the 60s. So, and then cooler even than that. So how I am doing this, I normally don't pin them all to my design board, but I did just so I wouldn't lose any and I wouldn't have them out of order. So I go onto the website that is mentioned in the pattern, and I can link that website down below, and then I wait till the end of the month, and then I just download all of the high temperatures for that month. So this is March. It printed out a little different than the last 2 months. I don't know why. But really all I need is the day and then the high temperature over here. There's lots of other information that I don't use at all. This month I got a little smarter, and I actually put the letter of the fabric that coordinated with that temperature. So what I mean by that is this. So I did put a little swatch of fabric down below for each one of the fabrics that I had chosen to coordinate with the Moda Bella Solids that Moda had suggested, or that Fat Quarter Shop had suggested. But then I also added a little letter to each one of those. It's a little easier to keep track of letters, I think, than it is to go back each time and try to figure out the fabrics. So what I did is when I pulled this sheet out then, and it gave me the high temperature, so it says high temperature of 43. I went over here to 43, so these are all done in 5-degree increments, and this temperature right here is 41 to 45, and I had labeled that one G. So I just went ahead and did a little G next to that date. I did that all the way down. So then I also label my little triangle pieces when the paper is still on them. So when I was laying this out, it was very easy just to run down this list, grab my letters, look at each letter, and then put those letters in order rather than having to keep going back to the fabric swatches each time. It worked much better, much quicker. So then when I take these to the machine, I'm actually only taking 2 at a time because I do not want to get these out of order. So I press these 2, and then I take those to the machine, I press these 2, then I take those to the machine, then I take those 2 groupings, put those together, and then I grab, oh no, there's a third one. So these 2, these 2, these 2, and then I grab these first 2, put those together, take that back off the machine, and then add this third unit onto the end. A lot of times if I laid out a block like this, and I'm going to show you this in my Summerville Quilt Along here in a little bit, I will do all the piecing that I can before I take it back to the pressing station. But because this one is so easy to get out of order, I am really just doing 2 at a time and making sure I do not get any of these letters out of order. The month has 30, so I have laid out all of those, and I just already have cut my 5-inch block for the tree that will go beside the house for the 31st day. So I'm really enjoying this, and this is super simple. It didn't take me that long to do this much yesterday afternoon, but that's all I got done. Yesterday was eclipse day. I'm filming the day after the total solar eclipse. We are in just west of Indianapolis in Indiana, and the eclipse went right through our house. We didn't have any traffic because we didn't have to travel anywhere. We actually walked across the field, sat out in the middle of a huge cornfield. Nothing's planted at this point. And it got to enjoy the 3 hours of the eclipse. Actually, the 3 minutes, just over 3 minutes is what we had totality, but all of the leading up to it, and we had our snacks, we had Star Crunch, we had moon pies, we had sun chips, you know, all those fun things. And a good excuse to have some snacks, and sat out there with the family, and it was the most incredible experience I have seen. And I heard somebody describe it the other day. If you had never seen the Grand Canyon and it was only open for 3 minutes, you would want to get there to see it. And that's about what this solar eclipse was. If you've been to the Grand Canyon, you understand the majesty and the power of it that's there, and just the incredible geological features that are there, and what I believe is the hand of God that rushed that water through there to create that. And yesterday was the same experience. That pictures don't do it justice, not at all. The feelings you have around you with the darkness, the crickets, we could hear crickets. You know, the birds stopped, the bees stopped, and the crickets started. There's nothing like it, nothing like it. So just an incredible experience. I'm so blessed to have it right literally over the top of our house. So I have had the question, somebody asked me, how will I do eclipse day in my April house? And I've been thinking about that. Should I use a special fabric, maybe something that has some stars or moon or sun on it? Should I make, like, this is the March one, but if it was the April one, you know, make the second half of it something different? I don't know. Give me your ideas in the comments. I'd be interested to see your thoughts on how I can mark the eclipse on my April block. So this is so fun. I did bring along some of my other, just so you can see, the triangles on a roll is what I'm using. So I press the white fabric the white linen that I'm using, and also whatever the color swatch for that temperature range is. I layer my triangles on a roll on top of that. I do pin it all the way down until I do the stitching. The stitching on this is so easy because they give you the arrows to go on, and you literally can just all the way down, all the way back up, all the way down, all the way back up. Never have to break your thread, and you can finish this entire thing. I am cutting off, you know, if I cut right here, then I'm getting 4 blocks, and so far that's, you know, I haven't needed too many more than that in any month. So I usually just cut 4. If I use them all, fine. If I don't. So that was quite funny. I'm sure you were noticing that. As I was talking there, my tripod was lowering. So joke for the day, I guess. Just enjoy that little blooper right there. Anyway, I don't know at what point it was falling down there. But anyway, I will cut off about 4, do those 4 units, and then if I need some more the next month, then I'll cut off the next section. So I have, you know, most of these still together. You can see my L's are a little shorter. And then I just mark on every one of the triangles the letter for that color, so that I'm just trying to cut out as much repetition as I can and make this fast and easy. So, you know, I keep them in the triangles until I'm ready to press them. You can see I keep the paper on them, and that way I know the letters. I don't want to get them out of order until I press them and then take them to the sewing machine. So that's the way I'm doing it. So I am really enjoying this. I think this is a lot of fun. I'm doing high temperature. Others can do different temperatures, but it's not too late to join in because you can do it 1 month at a time, and just a super fun quilt along. The other thing I worked on this week was this Summerville pattern. So if you've heard me talk before, I have a Quilt Circle membership, and this membership is meant for isolated quilters. Perhaps you can't get out to a local guild, perhaps you're in an area that doesn't have local guilds, perhaps you'd rather just work from your home and join people online. So I created this Quilt Circle membership last year, and we will be opening doors again the end of April. So you'll want to get on the wait list, and so you'll be the first to be notified once the doors open. But part of our Quilt Circle membership, let me just tell you some of the details, and then if you're on the wait list, you'll be getting some videos here coming soon that I'll just walk you through Quilt Circle membership, so you can exactly see what the benefits and fun things that we do are. But just in a nutshell, Quilt Circle membership is hosted on a Circle platform, which is an app if you're able to use an app, or you can do it from a desktop and log into the website itself. There are some advantages to doing that anyway. And so each month we have a program that's releases. This month we had a program about Creative Grids rulers, where I interviewed Connie Lancaster. She's the owner of Quilts Plus, which is a quilt store in Lebanon, Indiana. Did an interview with her where she talked all about Creative Grids rulers. And so then we also each month have a monthly meeting. And this is a live event where we do over Zoom. We all get together and we talk about the program for that month. We also review a lot of the other happenings that are going on in Quilt Circle, which I'll get to in just a second. We also do a member spotlight each month. This is an interview I do with one of the members, and we just learn about them, their quilting journey, their family, where they live, their quilting space, the quilts that they've created. This is a fun feature of Quilt Circle, just to get to know each other better. And then also our other live event for each month is we do a live show and tell, and this is the chance for you to shine. This is where I love to see what everybody in the Quilt Circle membership is working on. So they bring their quilts that they're working on, projects that are in process, and it's just a lot of fun. So also by it being on a Quilt Circle, being hosted on the Circle membership, and it's not complicated, it's all very well explained once you join, but that way we can have chats back and forth. This is a closed community, no one else is allowed in to see it unless you're a paying member, but we can do chats back and forth about different subjects. We can do show and tell through pictures by posting it, so very similar in some ways to Facebook, where you can have back and forth conversations and comments on posts. But you as the member are able to show your work and to ask questions of other members, and it's just a super fun feature. That's how you can get connected with other quilters and ask your quilting questions. Maybe you don't have others that you can ask quilting things, and this is a platform where you can do that. So also within the membership, we do a monthly challenge. This year we're doing a pre-cut and panel challenge. So each month I prompt the members with some challenge that they can work on. This month we're doing charm packs for April. So it's a challenge to create something, whether it's a whole quilt or maybe it's a bag or a table runner, something made from charm packs. And then each month that challenge changes. We also do a Quilts of Valor initiative, where if you want to participate, we have Brenda leads this up for us, and she tells us the block that she wants us to make, and then you can make as many or few blocks as you want, send those on to her, and then if you want to volunteer to piece the quilt together or to long arm the quilt, and then once it's completed, then Brenda is a volunteer for the Quilts of Valor program, and she awards that to a deserving veteran. We just had our first presentation to a deserving veteran just within the last month, and it has been so neat to see. Brenda posted pictures for us on our platform, and to see the smiling face of this serviceman and just to know that he's appreciated. We really enjoy that. So if that's something you can be involved in if you'd want. And then another thing that we're doing is a quilt along. So we started this in January, and we are doing this Somerville Quilt Along. So I'll talk about the details of this in just a minute, but those are some of the happenings in Quilt Circle, so you're able to be involved as much as you want or as little as you want. Perhaps you don't want to join the live features. You can watch those on recording. Everything is recorded for later viewing. Because we're in so many different time zones, it works that way, that if you're not able to join us live, you're able to get the recordings. So if that sounds like something you would want to be involved in, we just encourage you to sign up for the wait list, which is down below. And you will be put on an email list that will just send you information once the doors open. So it's a lot of fun. We are really enjoying. It's been a lot of fun get to know people around the country. We have members from Canada, we have members from overseas, and so it's just been a lot of fun. So if you don't have a local guild or you want to join another guild, then this is a way for you to join like an online membership and enjoy getting to know other people. So I wanted to show you some of my updates on the Summerville Quilt Along. Another neat thing with doing a quilt along with so many others is you get to see their color variations. So I chose some Kim Deal fabrics for mine, a very muted colorway in reds, in deep reds and greens and blues and mustard colors. But everyone in Quilt Circle that's involved in this has done their own interpretation of the pattern, whether they change some of the stars in the pattern, they change some of the houses. It's just been so fun. So I showed you the large star and the smaller stars a couple weeks ago. I am still working on some of my border. I'm using these as my leaders and enders, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So I have two colorways that I'm doing around the border. I have a red and a blue. The pattern actually shows a third easy corner triangle. I'm not doing that one. I'm only doing the two ones around the edge of the quilt. So I have a stack of these sitting next to my machine, and as I'm working on the other parts of the quilt, then and I get to a point where I don't have anything else to run through the machine before taking over to the piecing, or to the pressing station, then I grab one of these squares, lay it across the corner of the larger square, and I run that through so that I can pull my pieces off the back side. So I could sit and do all of them if I wanted to, but to me this is a great way of using my time. I can just use them in between the piecing of the other ones. So let me show you some of the houses that I have finished. These have been so fun. So different people in the membership have done different ways. I have the same chimneys and doors for all of my houses. Others have chosen different things. I'm following the pattern pretty much and doing the windows the same as the background fabric behind the house. Others have chosen yellow for their windows, or they have bright houses. We've had others that have chosen a darker background so that it looks more of a twilight or an evening time, like a gray or a blue as the backing. Some people are just using their stash and not done a whole bundle of fabrics where they're all coordinating. So that's a lot of fun too, because you can make the houses be whatever you want. You can do a different roof with a different colored house and different doors, different windows. It's a lot of fun. So here's another one. This one is a red one with a black roof. Then the third one I have done is a red one with a green roof. These have been a lot of fun. So I have others laid out and ready to go. You can see I'm just alternating different. I have like 4 different kinds of roofs and then maybe 6 different kinds of houses. I can't quite remember. But just alternating the different colors. So here there's a black house with the green roof, and I've laid everything out here so when I go to the machine, what I was mentioning earlier is I will join everything that I can in piecing wise at the sewing machine, and then I'll take everything over to the pressing station, press everything that I need to, then come back to the sewing machine and do all of the seams that I can. And I think that's a more efficient way to do the blocks instead of piecing one block, piecing one seam, taking it and pressing it, bringing it back. I like to do everything that I can at once. And then this one is a fun one. This is a mustard colored house, again with a green roof like you saw before. So we're just having a blast with this quilt along. It has been so fun. We'll finish this up in How you like that? Had that upside down. We will finish this up in June, and then we'll actually be starting a second quilt along for the year in July. It's not required that you participate. These are just all different activities that are going on within Quilt Circle. You do as much or little as you want, but we will be starting a second quilt along this summer, and that one is a Yoder pattern, so that will be a lot of fun as well. So that's the sewing that I have done this week. How about we talk about some of my older quilts? So before I get started here, I just want to encourage you that as you make a quilt, record it somewhere. Write down the pattern, write down the fabrics, write down who you made it for or why you made it, or any details like that. Because in pulling out quilts for this video to show you, and then like, I know that pattern was by somebody and it might have been in this book. I have spent too much time looking for the books that these patterns are in. So I just want to encourage you right now, as you either go back and log older ones that you've done, or as you're making quilts now, just write down the information, because you're going to want to know it at some point. So at this point in I've been sharing quilts for a couple weeks here, and at this point I just wanted to show you some hand-guided work. Many of you are working on long arms, you don't have digital software, and so you're doing hand-guided work, and I just want to show you that it's a journey. It's a journey, okay? I started out very simple, very easy patterns, easy things. I practiced more and more, and I can even see in the quilts that I've pulled out, I can see my progression, and it's been a lot of fun actually to see where I've come from. But I just don't want you to get discouraged and thinking, I'm never going to be able to do this. I am not an artist. I did as far in hand-guided as I could, but I am not an artist. I'm not one that doodles on fabric. I could learn a pattern. I could practice a pattern long enough that it was decent on hand-guided. But eventually it came to the point that I felt for my skills, I needed to switch to digital. I could do so much better in digital. And I'm super glad I did. But just know that you can finish some very pretty quilts in just learning patterns yourself, in just learning designs, just practicing designs on a marker board or on paper, and just do that muscle memory over and over so that you can finish your quilts and enjoy the whole process. I sent an email to somebody this morning. She was telling me that in her retirement she's now borrowing or renting time on a handy quilter at a local quilt store. And and I told her in my return email, there is nothing like the feeling of completing the entire quilting process, from picking the fabrics and the pattern through cutting it and stitching it and pressing it, and then quilting it yourself and then binding it yourself. There's just something very satisfying about doing that whole process. So I encourage you, if you are one that has your own long arm or can rent time at a local store to finish your own quilts, you will not regret it. You're really going to enjoy it. If that's not part of the process that you want to do, is the quilting part, then send it to me. I'll finish it up for you. There's plenty to go around. We can all be a part of this process, but I just want to encourage you in your journey. So this is a table runner I made at some point. Super simple. It's just, half square triangles where you turn them to make a pinwheel, a skinny border, an outer border, and the same type of pinwheel on the corner, just a little smaller. Super easy quilt runner or table runner. But you can see all I did was a stipple. This was on my first machine, and all I did, maybe the back you can see a little bit, but all I did was a stipple, or meander. It goes by a couple different names, but all that means is I just did lines, almost like, you had yarn laying out on the floor or something. You're just creating lines. A typical stipple or meander never crosses itself. You'll never have the lines touch each other. And so you're just moving around the quilt. into corners and moving around and trying to keep, when you're first starting out, some of the hardest things is keeping your scale similar from the beginning of your project to the end. Sometimes we tend to start out small and get bigger, or the other way, we start out big and we get smaller. It's just a learning process. But this is probably the easiest pattern that you can practice and to do on your own quilts. And then here is another one. I don't know this pattern. I don't remember anything from that. This one this was originally meant to be a tree skirt, and I'll show you the pattern in just a minute. But I never made it into a tree skirt. I decided that I wanted to just leave it as like a large table topper or a small throw. This is a thimbleberries pattern, and again, all I did was a stipple on this one. I did use a tan color thread, and maybe you can see. This is a well-loved quilt too. This is one that's out all the time. Those muted colors. So again, just a stipple, and you practice. This is probably the easiest way to finish a quilt. So I think this is a thimbleberries. This is how I started out. This is probably my very first quilt book that I ever owned. And I did so many of these quilts in here, but I'm pretty sure that this is in here. Let me see if I can find it. And so many of these quilts that are in here, I made and gifted away or sold when we had our pumpkin patch. And I should have marked it because I was pretty sure it was in here. Yeah, here it is. Okay. And I don't know that there's a full picture of it, but here is a picture of what it looked like, where you cut into one side of it and created a circle template there to create a tree skirt. And I just never did that. I left it. Did pretty much the same colorway as Lynette Jensen did. This is what I cut my teeth on. I loved her patterns because she would say, you need 1 1/4 yard of a gold plaid fabric. You need 3/4 yard of a beige print fabric, or a green print. Or I love that she told me exactly, you need a plaid for this one, you need a print for this one, you need a floral for this one. It helped me out when I was first starting. But so that's where this comes from. This is the guide to weekend quilters. Remember, I had lots of little kids at the time, so anything that I could do in a weekend and do fast, not that I ever got it done in a weekend, but at least it was something to shoot for. I was just looking real quick. See, I know I made this table runner for, I think I did those as Christmas gifts for family one year, all in different colors. I know I made that one and sold that one in our pumpkin patch. Made that one. My mom now has that one. That was my early applique. So many of these. This is really, Lynette was one of my favorites. She's how I learned. But, all right. So from there, from the meander, then, this one is, let me pull, okay. From there, probably my next design that I did was loop the loops. So meanders, like I said, you never want to cross your lines. That's kind of what that one looks like. This was I actually used this is a small throw, but I used it in my kitchen. Our kitchen is done in, still is done in chickens and roosters and reds and greens. And so I know, I'm pretty sure I got this as a kit, whether it was gifted to me or someone else or gave it to me, whether it was gifted to me or whether I purchased it, I don't remember. But it has a panel in the middle. There was a whole pattern that you followed. It had pieced blocks. Then it also had some fussy cut panel prints that you did. Really loved this one. So this one actually hung in our kitchen. And for this design, it has a red backing on it, so maybe you can see. So this one I did some loop-de-loops. I don't know how easy that's going to be to see. So the next design I practiced was just loops, where I made loops, small loops, big loops, whatever. And so that's probably the next easiest design. Now you'll also going to see in here where I threw in some leaves, and I'll show you leaves in just a minute, but basically this one is loop the loop. So you're doing a loop and then you come around and do a loop. So very similar to the stipple, except you're adding a circle in there as well. So you are crossing your fabrics. Felt that kind of looked like a rope or something that I was doing, but very simple. I made this one very, very small compared to that last one. So again, scale when you're working in as hand guided is really important because you want it to be consistent over the entire quilt. From there then I did some more loop, or no, this one is another table runner, again super easy. Just 9 patches with some setting squares. And this one I did a leaf print. And it's not super easy to see on any of these fabrics. But a leaf is something that you can practice. Again, let me throw this up here. So for a leaf, you're pretty much doing a meander like you were before, and then you would stop, and then you almost do like a heart shape. And then I did some little veins in this one as well, but you're doing a meander, and then you come in, you stop, you do like a heart shape, kind of little point for that leaf at the end, bringing it back around, and then you can do veins if you want to. That's another good one to practice. A tan thread on this one also. Some leaves look pretty good, others look pretty wonky. But it's all just part of the journey. You know, nobody sat at the table and looked at this one super close and said, "Mom, you didn't do that leaf very good." It's practice. It's part of the journey. And I did leaves a lot. All right, here's another one. This one, again, a super simple pattern. This one is just like a split rail fence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fabrics, and then every block is the same. You just turn it, but then by turning it, it creates that stair step down. This one, again, is a leaf, but no meander with this one. So where the last one I did a meander or a curlicue in between the leaves, this one is just leaf over leaf over leaf, almost like they're stacked up in a leaf pile. So you can kind of see my progression in my skill level here. So creating these leaves are a little more consistent, where I'm making a leaf and then I'm actually doing a leaf on top, almost like a leaf inside of a leaf to create a little bit more pattern. But everything I'm doing is I'm echoing the leaf before it, or swooping out to make another leaf, and it's just building one on top of the other. So no meander in between, no curlicues in between. Really doing a pretty dense pantograph with hand-guided machine. All right. Then I tried my hand at some custom quilting. I didn't do much of this because I never felt like I was very good at it. This is a Kim Schaefer. This comes from her book, Calendar Quilts. If you've ever seen this. It comes as a packet like this, and it has all of the applique pattern pieces in here. So I made so many of these. And in Quilt Circle recently, somebody posted some pictures where they had done some of these as well. I remember the May one I've done, the April one with the umbrella I've done. I'm not sure I ever did this one. This one, July 4th one. Did Christmas trees, several Christmas trees, and a lot of these are ones that I sold again in the pumpkin patch. But this is the turkey, and I still have that one. Kim Schaefer. And here is some of the custom quilting I did. So like I said, I never did much of this because I never felt like I was very good at it. Again, it would have just taken more practice, and I probably could have gotten better at it, but I end up switching to digital. So you can see how I did some different designs. So his wattle here, I just went back and forth all the way down. Did very tight little, what I would call like river rocks or kind of things. I did this on some quilts, but this one is very, very tiny. For the feathers, I just did squiggles up and down, did that on all 5 of the feathers. Then down here, just went in and out, you know, and then all around the edge I did a leaf print. Nothing super fancy. I really like the middle part, but the rest of it was kind of like, it was okay. But it worked. Again, just part of my journey. That was all hand-guided stuff. But I just want to encourage you in your journey. Don't look at the digital patterns that I'm doing now and say, oh, I could never do that. You could. You could. It's all part of your journey. You start out doing simple meanders, curlicues, leaves, and I'll show you some more designs that next week that I did on some other quilts. And then you just progress, you know, and I can remember the day on Instagram where I saw somebody have a digital design, and I remember sending a message, said, how in the world did you do that? How in the world did you do that? And I just worked at it long enough until I still have ways to go. I still have things to learn, and patterns that I haven't quite tried because I can't quite figure them out, but I'm enjoying the process and just want to encourage you in your journey as well. So that's all the things that I have for this week. Let's move on to some customer quilts. My first two quilts today are from Carol, and Carol said this first one is her own design. It's just half square triangles. She put them together, kind of a gradiating pattern from lights to purples and greens down to blues. Very fun. She says the fabric in this one is Sugar Lilac by Maywood. And then we're also doing the binding on this one, so you can kind of see we're not quite finished with the binding. We'll be finishing that up tonight. But some of the binding is done, and then some of it is not. So on the back, this is Little Lammy's Woolies flannel. It's super soft. A nice combination. Of course, you can do flannel on the back and cotton on the front. No trouble with that at all. Now, Carol likes a very open, loose design. And so maybe you can see it better on the back. So I chose ginger flower because it kind of matched some of the fabrics on the front, but I did this in a super large, so you can see the flower itself is larger than my fist there. Did the flower super large, big open loops, and Carol said she wanted the quilt more soft than very dense with quilting, so I made it very open. Same design as you've seen ginger flower on other quilts where I've made it much smaller. So super pretty. I did a white thread with this one. Super pretty, super soft. Love her binding on here. She's done a scrappy binding from leftover fabric, so it changes as it goes around from the green, the white, the purple. Very pretty. And again, quilting doesn't have to be difficult. Half square triangles, and you put them in a pleasing pattern, add a couple borders, and you have a super pretty quilt. Very nice. All right, here are pictures of Carol's second one. Carol's second quilt is an orange peel quilt. This is a tutorial, a YouTube video that Missouri Star did on their YouTube channel, and I've linked it down below. Every one of these orange peels is appliqued onto a square. It is gorgeous. What a great way to use up fabrics in your stash that you have, because you could literally create each one of these and then put them together. You can see each one is different. It's not like she tried to coordinate the 4 together. It is beautiful. So each one is machine appliqued. She's used a white thread to machine applique it. So each of the orange peel pieces is on a separate square. Looks about like a 5-inch square, I'd say. And then the orange peel design is appliqued onto that. Once you do all of those, then you can lay it out until you get a pleasing pattern, color variation throughout your quilt, and then begin piecing them together. Super, super pretty. Very pastel colors. So Carol did say the white is a Bella solid. The fabrics that she used were Kimberbell Basics. She also used Bliss by Three Sisters, assorted fat squares or 5-inch squares from an Etsy shop, and also Lighthearted from Camille Ross-Gelly. So a little bit of everything. Love how the lines can all work so well together. Isn't that one pretty? Then she's added a couple borders around the edge, a floral one, and then a green one that just coordinates the whole thing together. And I'm also doing the binding on this one, and she's chose a pink and white stripe binding for this one. Very pretty. So binding services is something that I offer. If you want to just get your completed quilt back, then you can send along the fabric for the binding, and we'll get that done as well. For the pantograph, again, Carol wanted something very loose and open, and so this one is espresso. You've seen espresso before, much tighter. This one I left it very large, open. You can see the swirl comes all the way around here, so much larger than my fist. Swirls very open. You have a little bit of open space as it swirls back out. And then it's creating loop-the-loops. Again, it crosses over itself for some of these loop-the-loops, so it creates that ribbon effect. When you cross over the line, instead of just echoing it like here, but when you cross over like it does right here, it creates that ribbon effect and looks like it's flipping over on itself. So pretty. Kind of a paisley design right here where it comes out and it echoes itself again. Other times it's a swirl. White thread on this one because the quilt top was white, and looks very dainty. Just complements the fabrics on the front very well. No trouble going over those appliques. They were all stitched down very nicely. I do use a scoop foot on my handy quilter, and I think a scoop foot is even important. You know, these were stitched down very nicely, but it is a little bit of a ledge right there. And so even with a scoop foot, it will just very easily glide over those. Sometimes with your metal foot, the round one, it's going to get caught on some of those. Not that it's going to flip up this design at all because they are stitched down very nicely, but it can get hung up as it's going across those. I have a scoop foot on my machine all the time, unless I need to get up closer to something, closer to the pins or closer to the bars or something like that. I keep a scoop foot on there all the time. If you're using rulers, you can't use a scoop foot. You'll need the other one, the metal hopping foot. But I always keep a scoop foot. A glide foot is also a name for it. So pretty. Very pretty. All right, let's move on to another one. So Cathy's barnyard quilt comes from a kit called Down on the Farm, using fabrics called Down on the Farm. The fabrics are by Lisa Sparling. This quilt design was actually done by Heidi Pridemore. Now you can see this is information that Cathy gave me, but Cathy decided to do her own design. So she used the fabrics that were in the kit, but then she used did her own borders, and did not do a pieced border as is shown here. I really like the way that she has finished this off. So let me hold this up. She's got the panel in the middle and she added a dark border. Love the red, absolutely love this red fabric. And then another black border around the edge, really framed that panel. So cute. She said this is for a toddler. So a toddler's just gonna love it the way it is. Wouldn't really care for all the piecing and things that were on the on that pattern there. And then look at the print that she's used on the back. This was in the kit, I assume, because it matches those others. And just love all the barnyard animals. Love the stripe effect to that print there. So for the pantograph, Cathy chose Cool Beans. And the reason she chose this one, she said it looks a lot like it's a rope. Very similar to like the chicken one that I showed you that was mine from many years ago. But just all the rope type of thing. So it's rounded at corners, so this could be very squared off if it was a different pantograph. But all of the corners are rounded, so it gives it effect of kind of like a rope. And I did shrink this one down, not too small, but did shrink it down some. I used a light cream color thread on this one. The backing fabric has a cream color to it, and the fronts, some lighter prints there. I felt that the cream looked really nice on there. So Cool Beans is the name of this one. Very pretty, so fun, so fun. You know, one of my favorite things I love, this is a panel, but I love this quilt square on the barn. And this fabric right here that they have used in the printed part is the same fabric that's around the edges right there. That is so cool. So without having to piece this square right here, it's part of the design, but it's the same fabrics that are in the border print. And I think that's really neat. So fun. All right, let's move on to Dee Dee's quilt. So a couple months ago, I did a pink and black quilt for Dee Dee. It was all cats, and so she decided to take the scraps left from that quilt and create this one. So this is also a tutorial by Missouri Star. I will link that down below, where you are creating pinwheel or half square triangles, but then making them into pinwheel shapes, but using multiple fabrics in one half square triangle. So Dee Dee actually did 3. In the Missouri Star tutorial they showed using 2, but she lined up 3 fabrics, okay, and then joined that, laid a white square on top of that, you sew down either side of the middle, separate that, and you have 2 matching designs. So this one and this one would go together. You can see how you're going to get the very small section of this black print is going to be the large section of the other one. So they coordinate, and you do that with 2 different blocks, and then you've got a pinwheel by rotating it around. So you can see the 3 different fabrics that she used, 3 different fabrics, and then you join that with a white square on top, stitch down either side of the diagonal line, cut them apart, and then do that twice, and you can make all of those pinwheels. Very pretty. Then by using the same background fabric for the whole thing, you get a coordinating print. You can see those pinwheels jump off of the fabric there. She's also done some white sashing with some cornerstones in between, some greens and pinks throughout there. Love this rose print. Very fun. Then the green border and a pink border. Then look at this backing fabric. Oh my goodness. This is like little rose buds all over this. It's a minky fabric. It's very soft. Very soft. And it's like little rose flowers all over it. Very fun. So Dee Dee said she wanted some texture on this quilt. She gave me the choice of what pantograph to use. So what I decided was the Whisper one. And there's a couple different reasons. So if you see this pink print up here, it's got a lot of bubbles and circles on it. And then there were other prints that had more paisleys in it. And I feel like the Whisper pantograph has a little bit of both of those. So let me see if I can hold this up here. So the Whisper one, you have some paisley, almost feather type designs here, and you have a little bit of a swirl, but then I like it because you have these bubbles, and the bubbles make it a really fun print. So again, you see the feather ones, almost like a paisley, come out. The feather is almost like the backbone of that spiral, but then it has some bubbles in there. So it used both designs. It used the bubbles design and then also some of the paisleys that were in some of the other prints. Very fun. Very pretty quilt. And super soft with that backing on it. So fun. All right, let's move on to another customer quilt. Margaret's quilt. I love this quilt. This is my colors. This is my country scenes. I love the barns. Actually, I have the book that this quilt came from, and the reason I bought this quilt was specifically for this quilt. The reason I bought this book was specifically for that quilt. So this book is called Quilt Club, Scrappy Patterns Perfect for Block Swaps with Friends. This is done by Paula Barnes and Mary Ellen Robison. So let me show you this one. Margaret's is just perfectly done. Looks just like the pattern in the book. So fun. Oh, I just absolutely love it. The size of this one is 43 by 43. And they suggest in the book, like I mentioned, lots of the patterns in this book are meant to be block swaps. So they suggest exchanging barn blocks with 9 participants so that you get a different blocks. And notice how their barns have a little bit different fabrics used throughout the barn, where Margaret has done the same fabrics on for the whole barn, and I really like this. This is very similar to the houses that I was working on for that Somerville pattern. These are all Kansas Troubles fabrics, as I'm sure you could tell. Love the little pinwheels on the, it's a barn star on each one of the barns. Love the colorways, the reds and the deep maroons and the blues and the browns and the yellow. I just love everything about this quilt. The cornerstones are little pinwheels as well. Love everything about this. And the skinny black border. The backing fabric is a darker tan. So for this design, I went with a pretty dark thread color because I really wanted to match this darker. So a cream didn't work, an almond didn't work. This was the 3068, which is a much darker tan color, and I really like it. Here's her backing fabric, another Kansas Trouble black fabric. So the pantograph on this one is called Square Dance, and similar to like 2 scoops that we used last week that's more rounded, or wishbone if you've seen wishbone before. This one is done on very angular squares coming in, but it comes in, creates the square, goes back out, they nest up. Again, you can squeeze this together as much as you want so that you can get those this row up into the other one. I just love this. Love this. So why it's different from a pinwheel, I think it complements the pinwheel very well. And again, just the fact that it's square dance and you've got barns, I think the name itself just helps pick this pantograph. So, so pretty. This is going to be a beautiful wall hanging. Love it, love it. All right, let me show you Margaret's second quilt. Margaret's second quilt is called Boardwalk, and this is a Betsy Chutchian pattern. The fabrics in this one are all Christmas themed fabrics, and they are called Warm Winter Wishes. That is a Moda design. So tiny pieces. I mean, you've got a 4 square, almost like you're doing a log cabin block, but you start with a 4 square, and then not quite, because you've got, you've got this, the white squares continuing, but you're adding these rectangles, and then you've got a square there, and then these rectangles, and that's your block right there, and then you're repeating that in the block next to it. Very pretty. And then the white skinny border and the red outer border, again all Christmas, very smaller scale prints, so you have like holly berries and fir trees, almost evergreen type needles, pine needles. So a smaller scale designs that just work really nice. They're kind of a darker red, darker muted green, not your bright Christmas colors. This lighter green is almost a grayish green color. Very pretty. For the backing fabric, Margaret chose a gray minky. Isn't that pretty? So this pantograph is called Maureen's Curls and Swirls. Just added a lot of fun swirls to it, not real tight. These swirls open up pretty big. You can see how they come in. They're not real tight like the espresso one that I showed you earlier. These are big open circles, and a little bit of a point. This is one you could practice on your own. For hand guided as well, and I did something very similar to this. So just big open swirls. You come to a point, but don't try to do it too tight next to it. You do a big open and a point, and you're going right into the one over there, and very pretty. Used a cream color thread on this one. The cream worked well on the front, and again with Minky, you don't see the color of your thread on Minky because it's got enough of a pile there that you really don't see the color, so you're just seeing the texture from the thread. So the cream color worked really well on the back as well. Felt cream went better on the front. I didn't use a stark white, even though there is some pretty bright white here in the border, but everything else was a little more muted. So I did the cream color, and it blends really well. So pretty. It's going to be a comfy little quilt. This one measures 47 by 61, so a nice lap throw while you're sitting on the couch or over the back of a recliner. It'd be very pretty. All right, let's move on to Sally's Turkey Trot quilt. I had quite a few fall type feel quilts today for some reason. It kind of goes in spurts, but this one is Turkey Trot, and this is a design by a pattern by Missouri Star. This is absolutely adorable. Look at the turkey fan behind there, all little pieces, and then it's applique. All of this is applique onto a bigger block, and then alternated with a pieced block. Love the prints that she's chosen. Sally chose a lot of small scale, almost like reproduction type prints. She says these were all from her stash, things that she had, but very fallish colors. And if you can see, let me get in here really close. The border fabric that she chose even has the same little turkey type print to it. Has that same sort of fan design. It's very subtle because it's just a beige on a beige color, but it is so cute. And then even the brown print right here is a very, it almost has that same turkey type, clamshell type look. It is so cute, just so cute. Can you see all those little turkeys? She's done the little eyes. They're all little, they look like they're embroidered, like little black embroidery. First I thought they were French knots, but those are pretty thick for French knots. I think she's done some sort of a little embroidery stitch. Or maybe she did them satin stitch, I don't know, did them on her own. Just super cute. The white is a solid white, but then got the brown fall prints, and all the turkeys are so cute. Everyone's different. For the backing fabric, she chose a Wideback. This is called Circle Play. You can find this in a lot of different colors. This one is a cream color with tan type colors on top. Very pretty. Then you can see the pantograph. We chose this one is Easy Baptist Fan. This is done by Three Sisters Fabric. And Sally thought the Baptist fan just went perfect with the just the fan behind the turkeys with their all their feathers back there. It just complemented the same design as that. So this is a cream color, a very light cream. It's not quite white, more of an off-white, I want to say. This is a lot of white fabrics, but you got a lot of prints too. I didn't want to overkill the turkeys. I wanted you to be able to see those. And then with the backing fabric being more of a little more of a cream than the front, I did use a cream color. It's not even a cream, it's more of an off-white. So not white, not cream, that just off-white color in between. Love it, love it. I like Baptist Fan on quilts that are directional. And so this one, because the turkeys, you're always going to have this displayed with the turkeys looking at you, you know, with them up. And I think Baptist Fan works well on designs like that. Not that you can only use it on that, but I like Baptist Fans on ones because the fan obviously, you know, is meant to go up. And so any quilts that you have where you're going to display it in a certain direction, that Baptist Fan looks really nice on those that you're going to obviously stitch it out in the same direction that the quilt you're going to have it displayed. I think it works really well. Love the texture that it created on this quilt. Love, love, love. Oh, so cute. All right, I have one more by Sally. Sally's second quilt is made for her son. This is all done in flannels by Robert Kaufman. And this is just very, very nice. This is, I know Sally lives up in cooler weather, and so this is going to be perfect for those long winter nights. Her son is really going to enjoy this. So the pattern actually is called Cherry Blossom, and it is from the Primitive Quilts and Projects Summer 2023 issue. You can get that issue and get this pattern along with lots of others, or you can just order this pattern itself from the Primitive Quilts website, and I've linked that down below as well. So, but the original pattern is done in much brighter, more pastel colors. And so Sally said when she saw it, she's like, I just think it would be really nice done in plaid flannels. And so that's what she did, and it is super, super cute. Very masculine quilt. I mean, you know, any outdoors man in your life is going to love a quilt like this. The fabrics are all very soft, very nice, and she did the same backing as she did on the border. But she did do a whole, she did put a label on the back, and then all the way down the middle of the quilt on the backing, she did smaller squares left over from the front. She just did a whole panel down the front, or down the back, that is all just small 2.5-inch squares, all the leftovers from the front. Great way to use up the fabric. And then she has used the larger blueprint on either side of that. Very fun. So the quilt, the way you're looking at it right now, would be upside down because the label is right here, but I did that just so that I could pull up the label and see it. Not that the quilt top has direction, but the quilt label is not upside down. It would actually be flipped the other way. So the pantograph on this one is called Squared, and so it is set on point, and you just have squares come in, they repeat around themselves, and then you go back out to the next one. Set on point, I think this is a great thing to do because everything in the plaids is vertical, horizontal. So by adding in a dimension that is squared, but by set on point, it gives a whole different, it really adds some more interest to the quilt without getting, you know, too redundant with all of the vertical and horizontal lines. By adding in that diagonal effect, it really gave it a good dimension to the quilt. We used a dark, now this is a medium gray thread on this one, and it really reads like it's a light one because these fabrics are so dark. The medium gray is a really nice one. Just really blends in, but it does add some texture. I do feel like from the pictures you can see the texture of the pantograph. You may not be able to tell exactly what the pantograph is until you're in closer, but it adds a lot of dimension to it. Just a secondary design that really complements without repeating. There's no reason to repeat, but it really complements the angular part of this without repeating those same up and down lines by going on the diagonal, like that one. Very pretty. All right, that is all my customer quilts for this week. If you are in need of long arm quilting services, my information is down below. You can download the long arm prep and quilting instructions. Also, I want to tell you that every week I include all of the information about these quilts, whether it's if I know the pattern, if I know the fabric, and I always list the pantograph that I use. All of that information is listed under this video. You'll see a brief description of the video, and then it'll say more. If you click on more, it drops that down, and it gives you links if I have it. You can go straight to the patterns. You can go straight to the pantograph to see it up close, not on a quilt, but the picture of the pantograph, so you can see each one of those. So make sure you check out that information. That'll take you directly to it. You can order those things if you want, or see what the actual pattern look like or the actual pantograph look like. But all that information is down below every week. I include that information every week. So, and also in that description is contact information for me. If you have a quilt that you would like to have long arm quilted, gives you all that information once you download the long arm prep and quilting instructions. And if you're interested in Quilt Circle membership, that wait list is listed down below also. And I will be back here next week to share with you more progress on my quilts as well as customer quilts, because every quilt is worth finishing. We'll see you next week.